By the end of today's video, you'll have learnt and be able to use the sound and sounds around you as methods within your mindfulness meditation. So, the way sounds can be used are as objects of meditation, like the breath, to focus on them, or any sensation in your body, be that a physical sensation or a thought that you can put your attention on. Or sounds can be used as an anchor to come back to once you are distracted. So you notice you're lost in thought, and then you can bring your attention back to a sound, be that traffic or the sound of birds, or even the sound of my voice in the meditation. So this will be a guided practice, as ever. With these, there'll be an audio track to take away the distraction from looking at me whilst you're trying to meditate. So I hope you take a lot from it, and on to the meditation. Well, thank you for joining me again on these guided mindfulness meditations. Today we'll be using the sounds around us as our focus point, our object of meditation, and as a tool to notice distraction. So take your seat, find a relaxed posture, take a few deep breaths, and notice that the state of your mind. Try not to dwell on the state of mind you're in. Notice it as a constellation of thought and feeling. That's all it is. And see if you can set aside the next 10 to 15 minutes to be present with this practice, in order to train being present with your life after this session is finished. So for the next 15 minutes, there's no problem to solve. And start by focusing on the breath, the inhale and the exhale. Follow maybe the next 3 or 4 breaths in and out. This will be your anchor to start with, just to bring you into the present. There's no need to control the breaths. Just like with sounds, there's no need to control them, to grasp or to cling. So now let's change our focus of attention to the present sound. Maybe the sound of traffic outside, maybe birds, there may be building work going on, maybe people talking if you're in a more public place. Or if you're in a particularly quiet place, then just notice the sound of my voice coming and going. See if you can pay attention to the arising of this sound for however long it lasts, and then notice the sound as it passes away. It's always the present moment, which is key to mindfulness. And a sound cannot be heard in the past or in the future. So sound is a great tool to train this noticing of the present moment. So just notice what is here to be heard now without thinking about it. If you do become entangled with thoughts about it, just notice those as thoughts and come back to the sound. You could even use a gentle note or the noting technique. So as a sound's arisen, just to refine your attention on it, just note sound. So what we're doing here is noticing sounds to become aware of this flux of arising and passing away, without judgment. Take a compassionate and curious position to witness from, without judgment or rumination. To just be present with whatever is here. So return to the present sound. Through using sound as our object of mindfulness meditation, we can notice both the impermanence of sounds and the permanent quality which is shown by sounds. These offer two completely new ways to practice or different ways to practice. So let's look at the permanent. There's always some form of sound to pay attention to in the present, just like the breath with the inhale or the exhale. And yes, they may change, but there is also something that can touch, there's always something that can touch our auditory perception. It's wonderful to be able to just notice the present sound, like the breath, and use it as an anchor in the present moment, or as a method to notice distraction and return to our chosen object of the practice, which could be noting, could be focusing on the breath, focusing on the body. This permanence of sound, this idea that sound is always there, is a wonderful anchor just to bring us back into what's happening right now. So then with impermanence, all sounds, they rise and they pass away. You can't hold on to a sound for more than it lasts. And this shows the true half-life of something appearing and disappearing in the mind. What's wonderful here is this shows us that thoughts are the same, but they just don't seem the same. This is because we attach feelings to these thoughts, and they create loops between thought and feeling and thought and identification. But it doesn't have to be this way. If we can notice a thought, a feeling, or a mood, just like we can notice a sound, notice it arise and pass away again without dwelling or identifying with it. So just notice what sound is present and try and hold your attention there. Sounds are appearing in this free space, which is known as mind. The sound is a tool to notice this wider space, and that is the mind. As sounds fade away before thoughts or identification come back online, there is a gap in between these different sensations arising, and that is the real freedom. Sounds reveal this as it fades away and before our internal dialogue or other sounds start again. This is the crux of a deeper form of meditation, that the mind is always already free, and that gap after a sound arising and passing away, and then what's left, that's what's always available to us. By noticing the gap before and after that, we can engage with this deeper sort of meditation using sounds as the tool. It exposes this beautiful condition with intrinsic well-being that's always available to us. We'll return to this again and again throughout our guided meditations, so don't linger on this as an idea. This is a reality that can be experienced, which is inherent to the mind before and after our thoughts and identification. So as ever, come back to the present sound. If it's quiet or silent where you are, just notice the sound of my voice appearing in the present moment as it rises and then passes away. Try not to linger or cling or push it away. See if you can notice sounds to have the same quality as thoughts or feelings or bodily sensations. It arises in consciousness, stays for a moment, then passes away again. If you become lost in thought, just notice that thought in a kind and curious way as a thought, then return to the present sound. Judgment and identification are just like sounds, so notice them, let them be, and allow them to fade away. What we're doing here is less, not more. We're stopping the identification and judgment to reveal how the mind is, rather than trying to listen to what's happening with sounds or with other contents of consciousness. If you become lost in thought again, don't think about why you were lost in thought, or give the thought more attention, or attribute feelings to the thought. Just feel them as they are. Same with feelings, just feelings like sounds, like the breath coming and going. The thought or the feeling was out of your control, just like the sound. So give them that same level of attention and importance. We naturally don't tend to do this. So just see if you can let them go and return to the present sound. Notice each sound as it appears in consciousness, whatever is present for you, and bring your attention to it. Things can only be heard in the present. Notice how you don't make the sounds appear, and you can't stop them from being noticed, just like thoughts. We tend to think we make our thoughts appear, and yes, we can strategically introduce thoughts, but when negative thoughts arise, without our intentional thinking, use this position to notice them from, just like a sound appearing. It will actually allow you to forgive yourself faster and let go of unwanted thoughts and feelings. Just notice the thought, come back to the sounds, realize that thoughts have just the same significance as sounds. Training this noticing with sounds offers a great tool for all aspects of our experience. As each sound arises to then fall away in the next moment, again, let it try and expose this prior condition, this space, this mirror-like condition of conscious awareness. A place that is already and always free of the sound or any problem you may have been trying to solve. In some way you are this space, because your thoughts and identification are appearing within it, within the same space that sounds appear. And as I said, this may seem abstract, but through my experience, it's truly liberating to notice from this unaffected condition that everything appears in. Think of it like the context of the mind, free of the contents, and it's connected to each arising sound, sensation, or experience without being identified and affected by it. It's a more direct and enjoyable way to experience whatever is present. So see if you can notice from that place, and then come back to the present sound, or if you have become distracted, just focus on the next inhale or exhale. And when you notice you are lost in thought, which is natural, everybody becomes distracted in meditation. Notice that the thought is appearing in that same space, the mind, as sounds. The mind is inherently non-judgmental and curious, and notices without attaching self or internal dialogue to it. That's just another appearance that's arising. If you're becoming distracted over and over with the same thought, try to hold on to that thought. but see it as just a piece of language or a piece of imagery appearing in the mind. Thoughts can only be linguistic or imagistic. They appear in your mind's eye, or they appear as almost the written word. So notice it in this way, and I hope it will give it the same significance as sounds, and it will be able to pass away quicker, have less power over you, and you can just let it rise and pass away as perhaps the sound of the last car passing your house or last conversation you just heard faded away. If your mind's wandered, to come back to the present sound. And now we're practicing with sound. As I learnt from Sam Harris, there is actually nowhere you can't meditate. You could be on a busy bus or on a train, in a park or a crowded cafe or pub, or any public place really. There's no such thing as a distracting environment once you can use sound as an object of meditation. Classical distractions can actually be used as objects of mindfulness to illuminate that prior free condition, which is always available to us. And this can be extremely liberating and even more useful than sitting in silence. It's much more realistic to notice that the mind is free and we can find peace and equanimity among external distraction, as we don't spend our life sat cross-legged in silence. We spend it in a busy world that is, for the most part, out of our control. Again, Sam Harris says, there is something about sound that shows the openness and uncontrollability of experience, even more clearly than sensations in the body do. Any experience is a potential object of meditation. The practice is simply to see and hear and feel more clearly what is appearing to be noticed in each moment. So see if sound can just show you that the space around the rising and the falling of it is free. And for the last minute, come back to rest your attention on the breath. Maybe take 4 or 5 deep inhales and just follow the inhale for its full duration and the exhale for its full duration. And thank you very much for joining me on this guided meditation. You can open your eyes if you had them closed, and come out of your meditative posture if you were in one. And I really appreciate you taking the time to sit with me today and just notice how the mind is, and be curious and compassionate with yourself. And this training is a training for being on your own team, for being a better person for others, and just being mindful of what is here now. And I hope you're taking a lot from it. There'll be more guided meditations every week, so I hope to see you here soon. Take care, my friends.